TTB Music Podcast.
It's been a whole month and we're back again.
We did it! We did another one of a player! Woo!
Whilst arguing over how beer tastes.
Yeah, that's what we were doing just before. Are you sure? It's like a sour, but it's got like lager. Anyway, cheers.
So if people listening, apparently there are some, we've just cracked into a couple of beers that came in the current B52 box.
We're not sponsored, by the way.
Yeah, which is a shame. So Northern Monk, if you want to sponsor us, that's fine.
Or B52.
Because apparently all the beers in the current box were Northern Monk bucket beers, and that's fine.
Not a sponsorship, but interesting.
And also, whilst we're at, hello to Dan. I was out at an event in the last couple of weeks when someone actually hit me up and kind of went, by the way, I listened to your podcast. It was like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
You're the one.
Right.
I'm just generally going to float this idea out there, but the rest is CTTB. Anyway, podcast. It's October, so it must be podcast 2.
Whoops. Sorry again, folks.
Yeah.
Hiatus. That's what we came up with this month.
Yes, hiatus.
I think last month it was personal reasons. This month it's hiatus.
Yeah. Moving swiftly.
Every band has it. Oh, you didn't.
We have 4 albums, one of which may be Taylor Swift. Leather Sugar, apparently she's released a new album. But to kind of balance that kind of like popularity and stuff, we're also going to do a soundtrack album.
Yeah.
We haven't done one of those before. Although, strange enough...
Have we not?
No, we have.
Oh, okay.
And oddly enough, we've done them before by 9 Inch Nails, or at least the members of 9 Inch Nails.
Okay. Excellent.
This is the Tron... Is it Ares?
Aries. Yeah.
Cedric.
Yeah, it's spelled wrong, but
we also have the return of Faithless with Champion Sound, and a debut album by a British band called Maruja. But we will start, of course, with the clickbait, and start with Taylor Swift. 12th studio album from Miss Swift. We've reviewed it before, of course, on podcast 524 for Tortured Poets Department. Podcast 9 2020 for Evermore, podcast 8 2020 for Folklore, podcast 10 2017 for Reputation, and podcast 10 2015 for 1989.
Yay.
Woo! So, this is the return of her going back to Max Martin and Shellac, who she worked with on 89 and Reputation, and I think Red. I think the album, it was the first album in the 3 she did, which were considered her kind of pop albums.
Yeah.
Is this a pop album, Pete?
It is a pop album, Scott. It is very much a pop album, and it's reminiscent of so many equally great pop albums that have been produced by Taylor Swift in the past, or dare I say it, have existed this year, produced by other artists. Ow! No, come on, let's be fair. It opens really strong, this one.
I agree.
I really like The Fate of Ophelia, the opening track, and the immediate I was about to say the immediate track afterwards, the second track, Elizabeth Taylor, no relation, and it's good. It's a strong opening. It's really good. Deep breath. And there's some other stuff on here as well that's fairly straightforward pop music too. I didn't say that, but I didn't mind the track Eldest Daughter. It reminded me of something a bit more mature. And I didn't mind the track Father Figure. But I think as this album went on, I liked it less. And it's got elements of, and particularly the tracks I just mentioned. Eldest Daughter stood out to me because it reminded me of something almost ABBA-esque in its quieter moments. I think maybe the album overall, it does reach for sort of classic pop. I'm going to tie this directly back to the review for the last album on Podcast 5 2024, when I talked about there's a lack of a great moment with Taylor Swift, and it sounds like I'm repeating that conversation by Neil Tennant and the Pet Shop Boys again. I am.
But I think it's more valid, actually.
I think it is more valid
outside of the opening track.
Yeah, because I think Dead. Oh, I can never get this bloody title right. Tortured Poet Society, yes. Not the Dead Poet Society. Dead Poet Society, yes.
Robin Williams was just crap on that record.
Brilliant. Robin Williams was brilliant on this record. It had, and I think it was less valid maybe because that was a great collection of particular songs. But this one is, it lacks a real standout hit, a great, moment where it all comes together. And there is obviously press talking up the so-called diss track.
Indeed.
And there is other stuff on here that references, what's the name of the fiancé again?
Kelsey.
He plays football, not not like soccer, like we call football, but the other football.
Yeah, Kelsey.
You get Kelsey.
Not Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, not Kelsey Grammer. That would be weird. But yeah. And there's a track that references him and the
Well, I'm sure a few did, because this is more an album where it's. I suppose lyrically it's more interesting because obviously this is the first album for a while when this is a I'm in love album rather than I'm
dissing my ex-boyfriend album.
Misspurred. And
yes.
Yeah. I know from personal experience of being someone that does occasionally write songs.
Yeah,
it's so much easier to write stuff when you when you kind of like I'm really effed off about shit and stuff like that rather than I'm really happy. And maybe that's actually difficult.
And maybe that's why it's 12 tracks. And actually, the fact it's 12 tracks, and I was going to make this point towards the end of my rather rambling review. I think it's a great palate cleanser of an album. When you consider the last album being 30 tracks long and then there was the anthology version, and then when you consider the epic historical tour that she went on, that was massive, this is a great palate cleanser of an album. This is like, right, okay, I'm just going to put this out. It's 12 tracks, I'm moving on. Like it, loathe it, whatever. And I think from that point of view, it's pretty perfect. And I think overall, the album is sonically very well produced.
Yes,
it's a very clean sounding album. It's got some good songs on it. It's, as I said, it's not. I don't think there's anything pretty great, but it's got good songs on it. But there is this sort of lingering doubt now that maybe. The Swifties are starting. I'm sort of looking into the press. I've not gone too deeply in it because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole before we do these reviews. But the press are sort of the Swifties are like, well, a great quote that came via my brother-in-law colleague who is a Swiftie is just like, lyrically they used to get Michael Stipe and now they get Noel Gallagher, which I thought was brilliant. So I said, Neil, I'm having that. I'm doing it on the podcast.
That's good. I think it's unfair, but I do think it's
unfair. But I kind of know where they're going for with that. And it's the second album in a row of hers that's bored me, if I'm brutally honest. You mentioned a moment ago when you were running through the previous albums we reviewed, Reputation and Folklore and Evermore. These were great albums. These were good albums.
Actually, I listened back to the start of my review, partly because I'm linking to it. In the nice newsletter we do that has links to proves things. I listened to the start of my review for Reputation and I went, can't believe I said this, but I think I'm disappointed in this record. And that's kind of how I came into this record as well. Similar kind of thing. And neither record is a bad record.
No.
But it's just, given that her last three albums have been indie, quote unquote. They haven't, but obviously,
But they have. But they haven't. Yeah.
Obviously, there was an expectation when people go, "Oh, going back to Max Martin and stuff," and you think, "Pop bang,
It's going to be 1989 again."
pop banger-tastic."
Yeah.
And it's not, and that's partly because her songwriting style has changed generally, regardless of who she's working with.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it does feel like a natural continuation of the last album.
Yeah.
Slightly more production-wise, slightly different, and slightly more accentuating different kind of things, but songwriting itself quite similar, and melodies quite similar.
Yeah.
I mean, the catchiest track of the album is probably the opening track.
Yeah.
As you've said.
Yeah.
Face of Fear, really good song, really good song. Even though she is doing her best Lana Del Rey impersonations on the verses.
But it's a really good song, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually like Eldest Daughter.
Yeah. That's the other one I pulled out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cancelled, I quite like.
Yeah.
Wood's alright, actually romantic, which obviously is the
diss track.
potential diss track.
Yeah.
It's alright. Rest of it's fine, but it's filler, not killer. But also you get, like with all Tesla records, there are some really good lyrics. It's quite interesting. In fact, we have a podcast of quite good lyrics, and it's quite interesting. So I really like the sentiment running through. Is it ruin the friendship? Which is a situation again that kind of thing where she's talking about something that we've all been through when particularly if you're of a certain age, when at some point in your past life you've been friends with somebody who you fancied the arse off, and you may not realise it to start off, but then you eventually realise it, and you're thinking, and then you're going, do I make a move, or do I kind of go, no, I'm not, because if I do this, it'll ruin the friendship. Arguably, as it's said then, women probably less likely to try and ruin the friendship than men.
Yeah. It's fair.
But I wasn't that stupid, and I didn't ruin a friendship when I found someone. And whether that's wrong, right, who knows? But I like the fact that she's addressing that kind of thing. I'm going, you know what? You should just fucking go for it.
Yeah.
Particularly when younger, shit happens. You get over it. You move on. Blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So I quite like that.
For sure.
Also, really liked the stealing of the guitar riff from "Want You Back" on Wood.
Yeah.
Bit Jackson's going on there.
I love the Jackson reference.
Yeah,
the Jackson reference. There was a couple,
which I don't think that gets credited. Despite the fact I think George Michael gets credited on Father Figure, despite the fact I would never have picked out, apart from the title, any resemblance to Father Figure, the song.
There's another song later in the podcast that does that as well. In
Father Figure, it's like going, okay, I'm not here.
I would never have got that reference. No.
I'm hearing some other things. It's like on the diss track. You can go, okay, it's ripping off Pixies. Where Is My Mind? It's ripping off. Is it Beverly Hills by Weezer?
It is Weezer. It's Weezer I picked up as well.
Depending on where you come from.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically a regular chord progression, so it's not ripping off any of them. But you know, you're reminded of what you're reminded of. As you say, there has been controversy. Of course, there has about this album, various things
already.
So one about the alleged diss track, or is it not? And with obviously saying not in the same way that Charlie said not that Sympathy's Knife on Brat wasn't. So they both were. Yes, get move on. And then there's some racism shit going on. People going.
I haven't seen that.
But again, it's like on Opalite when it's definitely the song's definitely a reference to Kelsey's ex-girlfriend who happened to be black. And there's a line in it going, was it something to do with sleepless onyx nights being rewarded with opiate skies kind of thing. So you've got the black white kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And people reading into that, and then
that's too deep, man.
And then on Eldest Daughter as well, there's the use of "I'm a bad bitch" and isn't this savage of being, and there's lots of stuff that, and again, most people, even most people who are criticising it, are not saying Taylor Swift's a racist, but they're maybe saying she's kind of like, like a lot of us white people are, insensitive to things and just blind to stuff and putting stuff in without kind of like...
Probably a tendency now with Taylor Swift that when an album comes out, everyone's overanalyzing every single word.
Yeah,
and
everyone.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm in agreement with you that it's an okay record, but
it's okay,
and it will still be by far the best-selling album.
Oh yeah,
and best streamed album of the year
by a shed load,
by a country mile. So Taylor Swift won't be giving a toss.
No, she won't. Oh, and by the way, the best track, the second best track is probably the Sabrina Carpenter one, and
I don't like that.
No, I do. And to refer to my comment right at the start of my own review, I said some people have done this better this year. Sabi C had done it better, I think.
I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah.
Possibly, actually, yeah.
You posted a picture of me on Threads wearing a t-shirt, so
I did, yeah.
so I've got to stand by that.
Actually, that is probably. It is probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Actually, it may be a better album. Yeah.
I got you there.
And I wasn't there. And I was, indifferent to that as well, but in a different kind of way. Possibly.
All right. Shall we move on?
We shall move on, and actually, we're going to move on to 9 Inch Nails. Pete.
Excellent. I'm wearing the t-shirt.
We'll post a picture.
Hey!
So 9 Inch Nails, Ares, Tron, Ares, soundtrack, Ares, whatever.
Ares, apparently.
Oh, God, whatever.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm not going to say what album this is by because it doesn't really count because it's a soundtrack album. But anyway, of course, we have reviewed 9 Inch Nails before on the podcast. Podcast 12, 2015 for With Teeth. Podcast 1, 2017 for the Not Actual Events EP.
Mm-hmm.
Podcast 6, 2018 for the Bad Witch EP. And we've also reviewed Trent and Atticus doing soundtracks before on podcasts.
We have.
Podcast 11, 2010 for the Social Network. And more recently, Podcast 1, 2021 for Soul, which also had John Baptiste. And also we included Mank in that same podcast.
Oh, did we? All right.
We did indeed.
I forgot about Mank.
Yeah.
I remember us doing Social Network, obviously,
Yeah.
all those years ago. And Soul.
So, I'd say, if you could imagine what 9 Inch Nails Tron soundtrack might sound like, yes.
Yes.
This is it. Yeah. Not necessarily a bad thing, I'm just saying, but if you're imagining what about it, yeah, this is pretty much it. But to be fair, if you were making a list of people that you would think might be perfect for this kind of film, based on their back catalogue, I would say you'd probably have 9 Inch Nails or Trent and Atticus on your list.
Up there.
On your list of possibilities, anyway.
Yeah.
So it starts off with some really great 70s, early 80s synth sounds right off the bat with In It. Which
In It?
Yeah.
Sorry.
In It.
Yeah, I've been trying not to say that for about months.
I know. And Fort's Reality. Before you get an actual new Nin song. You know?
Yeah.
Real proper song. Alive as You Need to Be.
Yeah.
And it's really rather good.
It's a fully fledged Nin song, that.
Yeah.
Proper.
Really, really good.
Proper Nin.
Which it returns instrumentally later on in the soundtrack on the target identified. We actually get 3 more actual songs.
Yeah.
I Know What You Can Feel. Less good as far as I'm concerned. You then get the joke I made to you in a message of the cover of Queen's He Wants to Live Forever.
Yeah.
It's not obviously. It's not obviously. It's not a cover.
It's like Father Figure on the Taylor Swift album.
Yeah. But amusingly, the fact that obviously the Queen song was a soundtrack song.
Yeah. Yes, true.
From Highlander.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Whereas this is actually a duet. My God,
Yeah.
It's a duet between Trent and Spanish singer-songwriter Judeline or Judeline.
And she's brilliant.
Yeah, so her voice sounds works really, really well.
Really works well. Yeah.
And then they're back again with also a very good track, which is the final track, "Shadow Over Me," which is another Nin song. In between that, you have what you expect from a soundtrack thing, really, and you always have that kind of thing of listening to soundtracks of that kind of almost weird thing of going without the visuals. Does it actually work as a record kind of thing? And in most cases, the answer is no, and in this case, it's no. But when it works, and it does work for the most part, I think, you do get an idea of the type, without seeing it, you get an idea of the type of scene that would be in front of you, unfolding on the screen, if you weren't paying attention kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is good.
I think that's why they're a good choice for this.
Yeah.
You know.
But also, one of the issues that I have, probably the only negative issue, but it's not really a negative issue, but it's interesting. Is obviously, I'd say 3/4 of the album, it is definitely, this is a soundtrack album, but 1/4 of it you're thinking, this is stuff that could be on any Nin album.
Yeah.
And I think there is a divide between stuff that generally sounds like it's of the piece, if you know, and stuff that doesn't necessarily not fit in, because it does fit in, but you are just thinking, did you just have this one lying around from various previous bits? And that's not right. It only really occurred to me about 3/4 of the way through. So it only really occurred to me when Still Remains came on. It was at that point I went, this is a Nin song.
This is Nin from Nin. This is Nin from the pile of Nin songs that they have on standby,
rather than something that kind of fit the thing. I didn't think it was a bad thing. It didn't take me out of the soundtrack or anything.
No,
but it was the first time that kind of like ticked a box in my head, thinking, oh, actually, this is definitely something that's not in the oeuvre.
I actually see that. I actually see that as a positive.
Yeah, I don't see it as negative, but so overall, I'm positive. I actually think it's a pretty decent. I'm now interested to see, bizarrely, how it fits in or doesn't fit into the actual film.
I see it as a positive because actually I don't see this as your typical Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross soundtrack.
Which is presumably why they called it a Nin.
It really is a Nin, and I think, the story is that the head of music at Disney said, I want this to be Nin. I want this to be 9 Inch Nails. I don't want it to be you guys, as you did for Soul previously. I want it to be a proper 9 Inch Nails album, and I think that definitely comes through. I think from a 9 Inch Nails perspective, it offers a change of direction as well. There's a lot more electronic. Warning the listeners now that
Walter has entered the building.
Has made his intervention, as he does halfway through the podcast. I think it's very much a different sort of 9 Inch Nails album. It's a lot more electronic, of course. It offers something very different in terms of direction. It's electronically charged, but it does fit in terms of the movie soundtrack as well. And in fact, the other thing that I sort of bounced off really was the obviously we saw them recently perform at the O2. I say recently, about 6 months ago. And supported by Boys Noise, and I think that there's a Boys Noise element of support here as well, and it does shift through the gears, the electronic gears, paying tribute deliberately, I think, to to Wendy Carlos, who obviously contributed to the first Tron soundtrack, and to Daft Punk, who contributed to the second. And to your point you made there right at the end, you know, it's often been said that Daft Punk Tron album is very much a Daft Punk do Tron. Oh, and by the way, there's a film that goes with it. Again, I don't think the film was as successful as people had hoped. So hopefully this is more successful.
Yeah, because it was crap.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, Jared Leto, I've heard some negative stuff there.
Oh,
no.
As long as he's not doing an Italian accent.
So, I think that all fits well. I mean, you've mentioned all the songs. I would pull out Echoes. There is 100% Expendable or Building Better Worlds, which is really old school.
Actually, Echoes,
Wendy Carlos style synths.
Yeah, Echoes is genuinely lovely.
Yeah. Demonize, What Have You Done, New Directive. I mean, there's tons on here. Those are just some of the tracks I pulled out as
New
intriguing to me.
Directive. Okay.
Yeah.
Just tell me, because I've already mentioned them once.
Yeah.
The start of the New Directive. Didn't you have an urge to set out? Flash.
Yes. Yeah. And again, is that a deliberate nod? Because obviously there's...
I don't know. Like I said, they've already mentioned Queen once. One Queen soundtrack
Exactly,
mentioned.
yeah.
Why not go for another one?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like I said a moment ago. There's those deliberate nods to put Daft Punk, to Wendy Carlos, to the previous films, to other soundtracks as well. Maybe that's in there deliberately too. Does it work as a soundtrack? Definitely. Does it work as a Nine Inch Nails album? Possibly. But then when you consider the last Nine Inch Nails album was Ghosts Volume 5 and 6, and they were purely instrumental, so maybe it does.
Yeah. This isn't fair. I'm not going to make you speak again, because we're now going to do the 8th studio album by Faithless, Champion Sound. First since the death of former frontman Maxi Jazz in 2022. Now, I would have bet huge amounts of money that we hadn't reviewed them before, but apparently we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, no, we did.
Podcast 7 2010.
Yeah,
The Dance.
The Dance. I remember doing it. Yeah.
Obviously, it's in the lost bank of.
Oh yeah, is it?
There's not a review of it existing that we have a copy of.
Yeah.
However, yes, we reviewed The Dance.
Yeah, I thought we had, which was the last album Maxi Jazz was on, because there was then a subsequent album after he retired from the group. So this is the first album since his passing, but actually the second album without him.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
We'll come to that in a moment.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting album, and I think I suggested this one to you because
this is unusual, because Pete usually doesn't suggest albums.
No, I don't, and I suggested two, and I think the Nin soundtrack, I was like, because they've done a soundtrack as Nin. And this one, I was just intrigued by the format, because this album is an album of 4 parts, or suites, if you will.
4 sides. They've treated it as a double album.
Yeah, and each side has its own unique characteristic, but all sort of ties back to Faithless, and the sound that is recognisable as a Faithless album.
So what did you label the sides as? Because I had dance side, concept song side, soundtrack side, pop side.
Yeah, pretty much. They have anyone that's been following them on streaming, they released the other weird thing is they released most of this album over the summer as EPs with the different sides. So side one was Forever Free Fugitive. Side 2 was The Phone Call. Side 3 is Book of Sound, and I think side 4 didn't really have a name, but it's like Champion of Sound or Champion Sound. Yeah. I think the big surprise, though, because of those pre-releases and releasing everything in advance, the one thing they didn't quite release was that Maxi Jazz is on the album and opens the album in a previously unheard verse against a backdrop of familiar sounds and samples. God Is a DJ is in there. And actually opens the album, and even that Forever Free lyric that then recurs through that side one having been previously released over the summer.
I think also in I think it's in one of the later
yeah
as well. Yeah,
but it's not obviously him. But then when you hear the album, you think, oh, it is him. So that's just lovely as a tribute. I really sort of doffed the cap to that. That got me in the feels. So you have that. You have what follows on side 2, the phone call. I think this is really. I think for me, this is a highlight for me. Those 3 tracks: meeting, driving, thinking. And it's basically the same track, but different interpolations of the same track combined together. I think it plays really well. It's for those that haven't heard it, it's the tale of 2 potential lovers meeting in a club, and then leaving with or without the girl's phone number. I won't spoil it for you.
Yeah. The final bit says whether
does reveal
yes.
the destiny of this. It features this great singer called Amelia Fox, who Rollo has worked with recently.
Not to be confused with Amelia Fox.
Not to be confused with the Amelia Fox. This is Amelia Fox. The story behind her is interesting because Rollo discovered her at his kid's school. Apparently the headmaster. Oh no! Chaos by water. I gotta leave that.
As per usual. Of course, we're gonna leave that in. Once again,
Once again, Mike's knocked over.
Once again, Walter crashes the party.
At least he's drinking it. Brilliant.
But Walter likes beer.
Yeah.
He is his father's dog.
His father's dog. I was just. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Right. We're on. I was talking about Amelia Fox, not Amelia Fox. Discovered at his kid's school. She's already done a solo album with Rollo as R+. I recommend anyone to check it out. And it's just a beautiful moment, if you will. This sort of coming together of 2 people in a club, and whether or not he actually managed to get the girl's number. We then go into side 3, which is essentially a long instrumental. And for a 4-part album, side 3 is also in 4 parts, which is just intriguing and a bit mind-numbing in terms of the maths you have to do there, which is very good. That's the soundtracky part, for sure. And then we get to part 4, which is like basically the Faithless album. It's where the tracks are. It's where the singles are.
It's definitely where the singles are.
It's definitely where the singles are. I've talked about Amelia Fox. I also want to talk about Sully Breaks, because Sully Breaks was on the previous album, which we didn't review, All Blessed. He's sort of the lead sort of young male vocal on the singles, in effect. Peace and Noise and Find a Way. He's brilliant. And I think very much they've gone for someone that can tell a tale like Maxi Jazz did, but obviously brings something a little bit younger to the band as well. This is a band that's evolved. This is not this is obviously Rollo, Sister Bliss, they're there.
Yes.
But this is now a band that's got a collective of these sort of young singers and artists in it. And I think it works. I think this is a great album of theirs.
I like the fact that it's an album.
Yeah.
I like the fact that, it's 4 sides, and as you said, and as I joked about my division of it, it is literally 4 very different sides.
Yeah.
I love side 3. So I like the thing that's mostly instrumental.
I did wonder if you'd like side.
Yeah.
I thought you might not like side 3.
I like side 3 a lot.
Yeah. Now, do you know what side 3 is? The side I felt a little bit resistance to, but it's actually grown on me the most.
I particularly like when it goes really classical about 2/3 through.
It does.
I mean, there's a bit of classical thing going on in the start, and then 2/3 of the way through it goes really classical and operatic and stuff like that, and it's really, really good.
It's in 4, like the album, it's in 4 parts. I like part 2.
Yeah.
Where it gets a little bit darker and a little bit more dubby.
I also like part 2. Part 2 is my set. If I'm picking sides,
Oh, you're going to go with side 2.
side two is my second favourite thing. Because as you say, I like this whole thing of a simple story about people meeting in a club, maybe falling in love. The thing, but obviously all being around.
Yeah.
Particularly back in the day, whether you got someone's number and whether it was the right number and all that kind of stuff. It's great. Obviously, side 1 is classic 90s dance music, which was probably my least favourite era of music.
Yes, your favourite era of music.
Ever. And it's just like going, hi-hat.
Yes.
Roland 808 or Roland 909 is like, yeah, I remember that, yeah. Felt like cracking out the glow sticks. Really did. Although, bizarrely, I quite like Fugitive.
Yeah.
So we don't even the dog in the room to get the drop on the floor. Yes.
It's on my phone.
Bizarrely, therefore, the kind of pop bit of it, side 4, I was a bit bizarrely, whilst in some ways it's probably the most approachable and easiest to listen to side.
Yeah.
I thought it was possibly the dullest side. Although if I was picking out a moment of that I think works really well, I'd probably go for Dollars and Dimes.
Yeah. It's my favourite of the... Yeah.
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 And I thought that was great. And I think the most important thing for me when you're thinking about this album and you're thinking about the bigger picture of the bands, but that obviously the legacy,
all
that kind of crap.
Yeah.
I think Maxi Jazz would like this album.
I think so, and I think they obviously he stepped back from the band in 2016, and I think clearly there was a reason given the eventual outcome why he did that. In 2016, 2017, 2018, they persevered with the follow-up album. They introduced Silly Breaks. They introduced a few other collaborators as well.
Yes.
They were clearly looking for how does this band work going forward. We have to bring in not necessarily the rap artist, but the spoken word artist. Rollo then discovers Amelia Fox on his own solo adventures, brings her into the band subsequently. And I think there's a lovely tie-in at the very beginning when he talks about my daughter, my son. And I think that brings it all together. The family is back together with Max's blessing. Rest in peace.
So, moving on to a debut album by a British band called Maruja, Pain to Power. Band that blends kind of punk hardcore with kind of rap spoken vocal delivery and, jazz, essentially.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking that sounds odd and intriguing, you'd be correct. This album starts off with Bloodsport, which is a great in-your-face opener, which I think, for any kind of record you want. Back to even Taylor Swift, the opening track is the best track. You want something that grabs the attention straight away. This does. It reminds me of the band Transplants, who were a great band formed by Rancid, Tim Armstrong, and Blink-182's Travis Barker in the early 2020s. Really kind of like in your face for that, and then you go, oh, there's a bit of kind of like sax going on. That's interesting. Then moves into the second track, which is also in your face, in the same vein, but much longer. It's just like 8 minutes worth. Look Down on Us, which I think is one of the best tracks on the album. Starts off kind of like really kind of like mental rock, and then suddenly you got the kind of like jazz sax coming in, and it's like, what's going on here? And you go, within 2 tracks, I was already going, okay, this is interesting. And also, I was thinking, okay, if I want to clear a room in the house, all I need to do is stick this on, and people are going to be gone. And that's because the sax work is frenetic.
Yeah.
And it's akin to guitar shredding. So if you're into metal, so it is that equivalent. And I can imagine this being very challenging for a lot of listeners.
Oh yeah, this is
because it's like sax noodling, which walks the tightrope between being really good and being overly repetitive and annoying.
I love that expression, sax noodling.
Yeah, so it's like imagine Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Yes.
But with sax riffs replacing Tom Morello's guitar riffs.
Yeah.
And you kind of have an idea of where we are with this.
That is perfect. Yeah.
But interestingly, when listening to this, I was also reminded of other artists, either directly or musically. Well, either musically or on general vibes things. There's a band from the early 90s called Hijack, British band Hijack, who had a really good album called Horns of Jericho, which was kind of rap based, but their kind of ethos was just felt very similar to this. Radiohead had kind of, especially in the closing two tracks, when I thought that, but there were also hints of kind of Pink Floyd in there too. In the second half of the close of Reconcile with the guitar and sex combo before the repeated refrains of Have No Fear, and then you've got the Pray for Love refrain as well. And of course, wouldn't be a podcast without saying David Bowie as well. Because of the sax stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
I think he'd have loved.
It's got Black Star all over it.
I think he'd have loved this band.
Yeah, I think he would. Yeah, and it's that freeform art rock.
Yeah,
all collides together. Yeah, it is very much the soul of Bowie's Black Star.
But it's not all in your face stuff, because after the first two tracks, it kind of chills out a bit. So you get Saoirse, Born to Die. Well, the first half of Born to Die then kicks off into something else. And Trenches, Trenches, I'd say, is if you're going to check out this band, this is probably the single. I mean, I don't know if it was a single, but if I was them, this is what I'd release a single, because this is their most kind of like Rage Against the Machine-ish kind of thing, but with sax.
Yeah.
Also, like there's some really good. I mean, across the whole entire album, there's some really good lyrics.
Yeah.
But I like in this one because the way we think in this podcast, I like the fact that it says, "I redeem us with this music, seeing more, saying less, listening to speak, with the intent to manifest."
Mm.
And the whole album is about how we live, how you should love rather than hate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I liked the fact that on this track and also on the closing track, Reconcile, it mentions music as one of the ways of doing that. So on the final track, Reconcile, it says, "Music lifts our spirit and love uplifts our souls. Ancient language healings, let the music take control."
Yeah.
And as we've said many, 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 many times on this podcast, we are huge believers in the power of music to solve all life's problems.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not an unchallenging record. You do have to kind of like dial yourself in, but I think it's actually worth doing so. And there's it's like reading one of those classic. It's like reading a classic novel. This book.
Mm.
You kind of fight against it, and eventually you kind of go, "Oh, actually, now I see why some people like this." And so I think this is an interesting band, and I'd be interested to see where it goes. It's not a brilliant record, but there's enough going on here that I found interesting to maybe want to listen again.
I think as a first album proper, this is pretty impressive stuff. And you've talked about the sort of the rap, the spoken word, the poetry, the free flowing jazz, the indie rock. I wrote in my notes Black Star by Bowie. I also wrote Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, to my absolute self-gratification, did a quick Google search, and they have actually cited that as an influence.
Okay.
So I was like, Kendrick Lamar, brilliant.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, this album, it's actually the first track and a half is quite difficult to engage with, and then there's a moment about halfway through track 2 where it looked down on us, being the track,
Where it just besides
and it
chills
just
out.
and it just goes chills.
Yes.
And then almost you're on board. It's almost like oh, you shouldn't bother with track one. Just go with track two and just bring us in. I think you've talked about Sorosy and there's the clawing darkness of Born to Die and Break the Tension after that. It's got that sort of element of darkness to it that gives it the alt rock, alt indie sort of title. Rage Against the Machine, I also wrote that down. That was obvious. In Trenches in particular. I think overall, though, the album is perhaps more identifiable or indebted to hip hop.
Yeah,
in a strange way.
No, I wouldn't disagree.
And they're also from Manchester. To paraphrase the famous saying, they do things differently there. And do you know what? To your final point, actually, you made a really nice point there about music and the power to heal and all of that, and we still believe in that. And actually, given where we are on October the 8th, the events of the last week around Manchester and what happened there, I think this is it's a very valiant, a very salient point, and a valiant point.
Which seems like a good point to leave.
It does. What's your album?
Oh,
I think it might be this for me.
Genuinely difficult.
Yeah, it's genuinely difficult. I think it's Faithless or this.
I would. The CTTB Music Podcast is a Vineland production.